Great, thank you. Welcome to the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, or UN SDSN, to our ESD webinar entitled Now or Never, Accelerating Transformative Education Through ESD in Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Thailand. My name is Karen, and I'm honored to be your host as we embark on a journey to explore the transformative power of education for sustainable development, or ESD, in our region. Today, we will delve into the pressing issues that are shaping the future of education in Southeast Asia. Why is this conversation important now? ESD has been around for a long time, but especially since the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals, it has gained a lot of traction, with UNESCO leading the way. And there is now a strong global movement of educators, policymakers, and stakeholders coming together to redefine the purpose of education and ensure that it serves as a catalyst for sustainable development and positive change. This is also evident in our region of ASEAN, where with the challenges posed by climate change, environmental degradation, social inequality, the purpose of education, and economic instability, there is an urgent need to re-examine our approach to education. We know that the systems we had were created for realities that are far different from what our children will face, and we therefore need to equip them with the knowledge, skills, and values to navigate this increasingly complex world. Today, we have an esteemed panel of experts, practitioners, and thought leaders who are at the forefront of the ESD movement in Southeast Asia. Together, we will explore innovative strategies, best practices, and success stories that are shaping the future of education and empowering learners to become agents of change in their communities and beyond. Allow me to briefly introduce our speakers today. So first up, we have from Indonesia, Dr. Iwan Syahril is the Director General of Early Childhood Education, Primary Education, and Secondary Education at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology in Indonesia. He has more than 27 years working as a practitioner, scholar, and policymaker. In the past 5 years, he has been engaged in creating and implementing transformative policies for more than 300,000 schools and 3 million teachers and school leaders, inspiring them to be continuously engaged in learning about teaching so that they can reach, inspire, and unleash the potential of every student. Next, we have Associate Professor Dr. Subarna Sivapalan, who is head of the School of Education at the University of Nottingham in Malaysia. She has over 20 years of experience within the education sector. At the national level, Dr. Subarna is actively involved in sustainability education advocacy. She is presently the co-chair of the National Education for Sustainable Development Association of Selangor. She sat on the National Committee of WWF Malaysia's Foundation for Environmental Education, or FEE, Eco Schools program, and has held the role of chair and deputy chair of the FEE Eco Campus Program National Committee. At the international level, she is a fellow of Acumen, the World School for Social Change. She is also fellow of the UN University ProsperNet, Building Transformational Leadership Towards the SDGs. Dr. Subarna is also recipient of WWF Malaysia's National Eco Lecturer Award for her efforts in advocating for greater awareness amongst youth to champion sustainability. She's also Senior Research Fellow at SDSN, working on Mission 4.7, as well as a member of the recently established Advisory Coalition for ESD in Malaysia under the purview of the Ministry of Education. Next, we have from the Philippines, Associate Professor Dominador Mangao, who is currently Associate Professor at the College of Alternative and Lifelong Learning of the Philippine Normal University and former Deputy Dean of the College of Flexible Learning and EPNU at the same university. Prior to joining PNU, Dr. Mangao worked as Education Specialist for Science Education at Semio Regional Center for Education in Science and Mathematics, or RECSAM, in Malaysia for more than 12 years, where he was actively engaged in training, research, and developing curricula. He was the project coordinator and co-author of the Semio Basic Education Standards, Common Core Regional Learning Standards in Mathematics and Science, Semio STEM Planning and Design Learning Framework towards 21st Century Skills and Design Thinking, and he was chapter author of Integrating Climate Change Issues in Southeast Asian Schools, a Teacher's Guide. Dr. Mangao served the Philippines Department of Education Central Office before his stint with Semio RECSAM. And finally, from Thailand, we have Dr. Phuangarun Prididelok, who is Associate Professor of Development Education, Faculty of Education, Chulalongkorn University in Thailand. She has taught education for sustainable development at Chulalongkorn University and other universities for almost 10 years. She has done research on more than 23 projects and published 33 papers. Papers relate to ESD include guidelines to develop learning and teaching, education for sustainable development courses. She wrote a chapter in Education and Sustainability, Paradigms, Policies, and Practices in Asia, published by Routledge, and wrote a book entitled A Paradigm of Education for Sustainable Development. At the international level, she used to be a member of the ESD Teacher Education Institutions Network, operated by UNESCO Semio, and Education for Sustainability Asia Network, operated by the National Institute of Education, Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. Now she's also on the advisory committee of Global Environmental Education Partnership, Asia Pacific Regional Center. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage each of you to actively participate in our conversation this morning, share your insights, and please do ask questions via the chat function. By engaging in dialogue and collaborative exchange, we can together envision a more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable future for education in Southeast Asia. Thank you again for joining us, and let's make today's conversation both enlightening and impactful. Without further ado, let's dive into our discussion today. So my first question is to all of you. It will be the same question posed to all of you. And that question is, could you please share the national mandate of your Ministry of Education in delivering ESD at scale? How does your ministry plan to implement this? I would like to start with you, Dr. Iwan.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you and good morning, everyone. So we adopted the SDGs in 2015, of course, like all UN members. And I think it took a while for us to think about what it means in terms of education. In 2019 in particular, the president decided to hyper-focus on the human capital, the development for our national development. And we then reflected on what had been done in the past, let's say 20 to 30 years. And we knew that we found that we had made significant progress in terms of educational access, but in terms of the impact of the quality of the process and the graduates' student outcomes, we were stagnant for quite a long number of years. So then we decided our problem definition was to solve the learning crisis. So so students go to school, but then learning is question mark. So that is our main issue that we wanted to tackle head on. And then we decided that going forward, in terms of human capital development, we needed to be more strategic. We know that the future was very uncertain. Disruption is the new normal. It's happening all the time. So what kind of human capital that we need to prepare for the future? And then the answer is lifelong learners. And I mean, this sounds very cliche, but we really mean it in terms of we want to make sure that our future citizens, and which will be global citizens, can be engaged in learning all the time. So then they have to have a basic skills for to be lifelong learners, which are literacy and numeracy. And also we add character component into it. So the hyper focus on literacy and numeracy was decided before the pandemic, actually. And then during the pandemic, of course, all countries suffered in terms a setback in terms of reaching the SDGs, learning loss, and then all the studies after the COVID was starting to be fading away, pointed to the importance to focus on foundational skills. And I think we were kind of like, we already set our education system prior to that on the path of focusing on the foundational skills. And we had like national assessment that we where we want to measure not every student, not like the high stake exam, but it's just like a census, a survey-based national assessment on literacy and numeracy. So this is what we plan to do going forward, because all the other SDGs, of course, SDG 4 is about education, but the other SDGs are dependent on the quality of our human resources to deliver and all the national and then also the local government level. So this is something that we believe is super important. And I think now in 2024, after about 5 years from 2019, we made some good progress on this based on our national assessment and also the latest PISA results where it showed how the education system were impacted during the COVID. And I think our resilience was proven with that assessment. And I think our national planning ministry, National Development Planning Ministry, they already put the next 25 years of planning, actually go beyond 2030, to focus on this trajectory. So hopefully this will accelerate, of course, recover from the learning loss, and also pick up the pace that we had before and then accelerate towards achieving the sustainable development goals in Indonesia, and also hopefully impacting the ecosystem around the globe.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Iwan. I fully agree with you that lifelong learning is of paramount importance. And also the point that you raised, which I think is really spot on, that SDG 4 is on quality education, but it's really the SDG that enables all the other SDGs to be achieved. I think that that's a powerful point. And it's really wonderful to hear of the great efforts that the Indonesian government is making to enable this. And it's not easy given how big the country is and how large the population of students are. I'd like to turn the question over now to Dr. Subarna. Could you tell us about the Ministry of Education in Malaysia's mandate?
Thank you, Karen. First of all, I want to say I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here on this panel with such esteemed speakers. This is a learning process for me as well today. So I'm looking forward to understanding what colleagues in, Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines are all doing, because I think there is so much scope for us to work together within this region. So back to your question, on what's the national mandate by the Ministry of Education in Malaysia here in delivering ESD in scale. I think ESD is something that the ministry looks into very, very seriously here, right? It may not be spelled out very explicitly as ESD, but as shown in the country profiles just now, for Malaysia, we have the education blueprint, right? We have two blueprints, in fact, for preschool to post-secondary, and also the higher education blueprint. Both are coming to an end next year, 2025. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to be happening beyond 2025. So in these two blueprints at both levels, there are many instances in which sustainability at large, as well as ESD, is incorporated. But if you ask me if this incorporation is enough, the answer would definitely be no. We can do much, much more, right? And just a little bit of background, to look into how much the ministry has been supportive and is continuing to support sustainability education, is the fact that we've had more than 300 schools. This is based on 2021 data, Karen. We have more than 300 eco schools and more than 1,000 Sekolah Lestari or sustainable schools. So these are initiatives the ministry has been working towards. And I want to mention the eco schools in particular, because this program, is run by the Foundation for Environmental Education, or FEE, as you mentioned earlier, and coordinated at the local level by WWF Malaysia for about 10 years. And then I think it was last year or the year before, it's taken over by Green Growth Asia Foundation. So we have these kinds of programs that are running on the ground to complement what the Education Ministry is doing. So definitely, I would say that there is a lot going on, but we can do much better, and as I mentioned earlier, the blueprints are coming to an end in 2025. So what's going to happen next? So I've been quite fortunate, to be engaged by Ministry of Education to sit on meetings, to go for stakeholder engagement sessions and all. And we are coming to a curriculum review in 2027. So 2 years down the road, so if there are participants from Malaysia who are here in the call today, some interesting things for us to look forward to, in our education system coming along the next few years. So in these sessions, that I've attended, there is a clear direction the ministry has set in terms of wanting more embedding or wanting more integration of sustainability within the curriculum at the primary school and secondary school levels. Also integration of SDGs within the curriculum. So, we are having lots of stakeholder engagement sessions. We are gathering feedback from all the multiple levels of stakeholders that we have. So we are hoping that, we're hoping to see something really interesting coming out, in the new curriculum that's going to be out in 2027, at this point, maybe I want to mention about the connect between primary and secondary school and higher education, because students from secondary school, they're going to be moving into the higher education system in Malaysia. And what's happening in higher education system in Malaysia is that we have, universities offer many different kinds of academic programs. And within all these different kinds of academic programs, maybe I can just bring out an example of engineering education. So engineering is a program that has a very clear mandate for its graduates to have sustainability literacies and sustainability competences, because these are skills that are necessary for them to be able to function as proper engineers when they go out from the institution. And these are requirements by the accreditation boards, professional bodies, and so on and so forth. But there are other programs as well. There are other academic programs as well within universities. But maybe there isn't enough emphasis for sustainability and ESD within these programs. So I think if we are making adjustments, to accommodate this at primary and secondary school, we should be doing the same for higher education as well. So not to say that we are not doing it, we are, but I think we can do this in a more sustainable way, and also looking at the ecosystem as a whole, looking at this as a very systemic, looking at this from a very systemic perspective. So yeah, so that's the short of it, Karen.
Thank you, Subarna. Yes, I totally agree. In Malaysia, within policies, ESD is not stated explicitly, but it is implied. And I'd also agree with you that although it is incorporated, there's a lot more room for improvement. I'm happy to work with you on this national ESD coalition for for the country as well. And looking forward to a meaningful journey for Malaysia, and also agree about, the entire value chain has to be in place. So K to 12 needs to then extend to higher education. And then, as Dr. Iwan said earlier, lifelong learning as well for professionals to keep upskilling and reskilling ourselves. Thank you for your comments. I'd like to turn the question now over to Dr. Dominador to share the perspectives from the Philippines.
Thank you very much, Ms. Karen. Magandang umaga po. Salamat pagi. A very good morning. So, at the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Eman for the invitation to share the Philippine experience and practices on ESD. So, though I've been away for 12 years from the Department of Education in the Philippines, but having served the department for almost 20 years before moving to Regsam. I still am connected because we have a lot of projects with the CMU member countries and Regsam. So I would just like to share to you the chronological events somehow in the implementation of ESD, though it's not explicit in the documents, but right away, 4 years after the Agenda 21 in Rio de Janeiro, the Philippines already had the Philippine Agenda for as the blueprint of what sustainable development would be like. And then this was followed by different laws as mandate to really implement the sustainable development, such as Republic Act 9512 or the National Environment Awareness and Education Act of 2008. So these mandates that to integrate education, environmental education to all the curricula, formal, non-formal, and even from preschool, even out of school youth and indigenous learning. Then in 2009, the establishment of Southeast Asia Center for Lifelong Learning for SD in the Philippines. And then 13 years after that, in 2009, we have the Enhanced Philippine Agenda, or EPA 21. So this, the direction of this is really to intensify the promotion of SD lifestyle and responsible citizenship, develop curriculum for integrating ESD and SD, and identify entry points for mainstreaming of SD principles such as climate change, environmental education, disaster reduction. And so these modules have to be used in all levels of education, and then try out some innovative and non-traditional learning modes that will enhance and expose SD issues and integration. Then we have also the Climate Change Act of 2009, the mainstreaming of climate change in basic education. Then another one, the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction Management of 2010. This again mandates all secondary and tertiary education, public and private, to integrate DRR education in the school curricula. And then that led to the development of modules, lesson exemplars, resource materials for both teachers and students to use. And then, of course, in 2013, reiterating the school disaster risk reduction measures. In 2015, the comprehensive DRR and management basic education framework. In 2019, the inclusion of DRR in grades 11 and 12 in the K-12. And in 2020, so we have developed the Basic Education Development Plan. So that's 2020 to 2030, wherein it is anchored on three education sulong edukalidad, Philippine Development Plan, and SDG 2030. So I guess these are the legal basis on how we are implementing various capacity building curriculum to really propel ESD in the Ministry of Education. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Dom.
Yeah.
I take note that there are many acts and policies that you have listed that the country has adopted. I think this would be interesting that when we discuss the next question about challenges when it comes to implementing these, because I believe this is pretty universal in many countries. We have beautiful policies, documents, acts, and implementation becomes a challenge. So we'll come back to that. Let me turn now to our speaker from Thailand, Dr. Phuang Arun, if you can tell us about the Thai government's mandates.
Hello, everyone, and Sawadika, it's my turn from Thailand. So I have some picture that is easy to understand. This is a basic education of Thailand. This is the age of student, 7 to 13 to 7 to 13 or 17 that study in the basic education. In the basic education of Thailand, is follow the basic education core curriculum 2008. In the basic education core curriculum, there are 8 learning areas: Thai language, mathematics, science, and social study, religion, and culture, and to the foreign language. Today, I will give a few examples of the indicator in the learning area that relate to ESD. Not only the basic education core curriculum that cover 3 dimensions of sustainability, economic, social, and environmental. Okay, this is an example of the core curriculum in the stand geography. In the stand geography, that is a standard. The standard of the student is that the student should understand of interaction between man and physical environment, leading to cultural creativity, awareness, and participation in conservation of resources and the environment for sustainable development. This is an example of the indicator for students in grade 1 to grade 6. For the basic education in Thailand, we have a grade 1 to grade 12. This is only one example. For this geography, for grade 1, number 3, I'm not sure the picture is clear or not. Participant in organizing environmental order at home and in the classroom. You see, but for the student in grade 1, it's a easy thing, simple thing that student can learn. And when grade 2 is more harder. Participate in I'm not okay, and improving the environment in school and in the community. It means that for education for the student in Thailand, not only in their home or school, but must connect to the community that they stay. And for grade 3, be aware of the environmental changes in the community. It's harder. And to the grade 6, prepare a plan for utilizing natural resources in the community. And if you see the indicator, you can see the core curriculum on the website. It's easy to search, and you will see the indicator of every learning area and every level of the student. For the ESD integration element, for Thailand, we concerned about the 3 dimensions that I mentioned before, and the content, the teacher must adjust for the student in their context. The method of teaching, not only lecture, maybe the activity in the community, or maybe the project-based learning. And also the curriculum, even we have the core curriculum, but teacher can adjust the curriculum that suit for the student in the province or in the community. The institution and policy that we have a policy, national policy and community. Back to the first picture is the not only the core curriculum, but we also have the two project Eco School. Eco School is responsible for the Ministry of Natural Resources Thailand, and ESD School is responsible for the Ministry of Education. Both run the project in the same direction, such as the student project competition, or teacher workshop and training, and also in the web on the website have a learning resource for the student, for the teacher, even more the people in the country that can learn about the ESD in all the dimension, economic and society and environment. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Fongarun. It's really, really encouraging to see such enlightened views coming out of how Thailand is transforming its education system. I'd like to move on to the second question now. Again, I would ask a similar question to all of you. And this one really is the one where it appeals to giving us your own insight, given the experiences that you have had. So Dr. Iwan, I'd like to turn the attention back to you now. Indonesia is such a big country, and to transform education is certainly not easy, especially for a country of the size of Indonesia. So could you tell us from your perspective, what are the biggest challenges in transforming education in Indonesia? And if we have time, I would like to ask all our panelists to keep your comments fairly short. What do you think is the role of partnerships in overcoming these challenges?
Okay, well, you already mentioned that one of the biggest challenges is just the sheer number of the population. At the moment, we have about 50 million students, and they study in more than 300,000 schools, more than 3 million teachers. But not just about size, by the way, but also the geographical challenges. They are spread in these 17,000 islands. So a city in Indonesia can consist of 30 something islands. It's like a city, right? So if you can imagine about the logistic and also the how the transportation to make a connection among teachers within that city or for the local government is not an easy thing. And also what is often forgotten, and I think I came to this realization much more, I think this is something as a scholar I knew, but never really registered in my mind how difficult it is, which is about governance. Indonesia has 552 autonomous local governments. So they have the authority about how to use the budget, how to plan their education, and they can deviate from the national trajectory, national policy. So to be able to engage and do advocacy to these local governments is another, I think is actually the fundamental challenge in our governance in general, in education. You can imagine like if I come to each local government to talk about their aspiration and so on with the head of the local government, 1 year is not enough because 1 year only has 365 days. And this is 552. So and working days, only 250 working days if we take out the holidays. So 2 years is not enough just to visit one local government. That is the challenge that we have to face, we have to deal with in terms of managing the education ecosystem, let alone transforming. Because when you talk about transform, you talk about change, and change is disruptive. Change is moving from the current status quo. Change is moving to a different paradigm, and that is actually the biggest. It is the biggest fundamental thing that we can have for what we can do later on more meaningfully, but that's also the most difficult part to do. And the other part is actually mindset. I mentioned about the paradigm. I think in any education system, big or small, changing mindset is the biggest achievement of us in trying to do that, but it's also the most difficult part, and also is happening in Indonesia. So how do we do that? And you mentioned about partnership. So I think the minister, I had this conversation early in 2019 with him. So how do we deal with this very complex ecosystem? And he said, we need to find the hack. So we have to think with no box, not only outside of the box, but with no box. So how we can think to problem solve this learning crisis, we want to problem solve that, but also understanding the context we are situated in. First, of course, is technology, but what about investing in human capital within the ecosystem, especially then we turn to leadership, the new generation of leadership. And this is where I think we have made the breakthrough because we invest in these change leaders, change agents within the ecosystem in each local government. So we have a new kind of training to become school leaders. And this new training really like the assessment to be in is intrinsically, so they need to be self-motivated to come to this training, leadership training program. We understand intrinsic motivation is actually the most powerful factor in meaningful learning for teachers, not when they are assigned by their own local government to come to this training. No, we want to be open, all teachers can apply, and then they become the change agents, and we make them to become school leaders and school supervisors. And we have seen this in our pockets of ecosystem start to change and to move forward. And these change agents, with the new mindset, they start their action without waiting for the instruction. They have this mindset of problem solving within their limitations. It's asset-based thinking mindset. It's not deficit-based thinking. It's not like, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that, so what can government do for us? But they start to think about, okay, we don't have this, but we have this, so how can we make the most of this to then reach our students and then to facilitate the kind of learning that we want them to have, despite all of these challenges and limitations. So with this new mindset, these change agents and inspire other educators around them. And when they become school leaders, they have the authority, school as the unit of change, to do a lot of like innovation, professional learning community. We talk about partnership. We actually we are experimenting with a professional learning community, maybe one of the biggest experiment at the moment in the world within the schools. There's PLC in the school and PLC also in their community, and also PLC online. So I think we invite all stakeholders, development partners, either the universities or NGOs, foundations, international organizations, to work together, to problem solve together with these change agents. But the most important thing when you do the partnership, it must be super, super clear. What is the purpose? Because when the purpose is not clear, the partnership can go scattered to many different directions. And the purpose for us is for our students, and especially on the foundational skills and the character development. So that is like the compass of this movement within the ecosystem. So it's not just the government implementation of policy, but there's a sense of movement that we're in this together, but with the clarity of purpose. And leaders need to over-communicate this. It's not easy. Maybe again, like it's cliche in a lot of like leadership books that this needs to be done. But I cannot state it enough that this is super, super important to have a clear purpose and to over-communicate the purpose, even though you are bored of saying that. But I think within the ecosystem, it is very important. And I think from the communication science, any important information is registered to someone's mind after you talk about it for 5 times. So you need to really, really have this clarity of purpose over-communicated in the partnership. So then all stakeholders understand what to do and how they can contribute to the problem solving. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Doctor. I think it's so powerful what you have said, and I couldn't agree with you more on the point, firstly, about how, it has to be an intrinsic motivation to create change. And this thing about mobilizing the community in partnership, it's because, we all care about education. It's a topic that affects every single person. Really admirable. I think Malaysia and other countries have so much to learn from Indonesia. And speaking of Malaysia, let me turn now to Dr. Subarna. So we are a much smaller country in comparison to Indonesia. So that kind of puts things in perspective, I think, for us. So what do you think, Doctor, are our biggest challenges in transforming our education system, and what you see is the role of partnerships here?
Thank you, Karen. I want to first say I agree with everything Dr. Iwan mentioned just now, because I think there are very generic issues across all the countries. I think later we will also hear from the Philippines and Thailand. To me, personally, I think partnerships are very, very important. And in Malaysia, I think we have got lots of good efforts going on with partnerships to transform education. Before I go into these, what I think are the potential benefits, I think I want to first talk about what transformative education is, because Dr. Iwan spoke about the governance bit, which I think is very, very important. But along governance, we also need to be thinking about how we want to approach this transformation for education that we want, that we seek. So in ESD, those of us in ESD, all of us here today, I think will probably recognize this term transformative learning or transformative education. And from an ESD lens, what it means is we want to transform the head, the heart, and the hands, right? The head, heart, hands approach. So we want education to be holistic in that sense. But I think this is what we need to be thinking about seriously. Are our education ecosystems in our countries doing this? So if we want to transform education as a whole, we need to be looking at the education per se as well, yeah? And we've got great examples of partnerships here in Malaysia, Karen. One of it is the work that we are doing with SDSN in Malaysia. I think I'll talk about this, in more detail when we have the upcoming questions. But I think in the sense of what benefits partnerships can bring, I think, I've got a long list here, but maybe I'll just take up some key points here. So I think the first one is, you can't expect Ministry of Education to do everything on their own, right? That's not sustainable, right? We cannot leave the burden solely to Ministry of Education. So this is where I think partnerships can come into the picture. So I want to cite the National ESD Coalition that we've been working towards in Malaysia. Yeah. So this coalition is an example of a partnership that is transcending just the Ministry of Education, but also going into other key stakeholders of the education ecosystem here. So we've got universities on board. We have got civil society organizations on board. We've got SDSN on board. And we're all coming together for one clear purpose, that is to see how we can advocate for sustainability, for climate change education, and for ESD at the local level. So when we have partnerships like this, everyone within the ecosystem benefits, in fact. Yeah. So, you have multi-dimensional perspectives. And those who benefit most, I think, would be the teachers and the students who are able to then, get maximum or able to maximize the benefits that these kinds of partnerships bring along. And I think another very important aspect is the fact that partnerships like this bring additional resources, additional funding, additional manpower that can assist ministry in running programs on the ground. Besides that, I think partnerships like this give teachers and students an opportunity to experience real world learning. Some things cannot be done solely in the classroom. We want to experience this hands-on, get our hands dirty, go down to the ground, and basically transfer what we learned in the classroom into real life action. So these are the things that partnerships can actually help us do, I think. So if you ask me, is it important? Extremely important. Are we doing this enough? No, we should be doing more of this.
Thank you, Dr. Subarna. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just very conscious that Dr. Iwan will have to leave us in 10 minutes. So I beg your indulgence, please, if I direct the next question to him. And also, it was a similar question has come out in the chat. So my question to you next, Dr. Iwan, is regarding the Merdeka Belajar program or emancipated learning. This is something that the whole world is talking about, looking towards Indonesia, and it has made some amazing strides with this Merdeka Belajar program introduced by Minister Makarim. Could you please tell us how this program was made implementable across such a wide geographical area, and what are the key actions that other countries can learn from?
Well, basically, Merdeka Belajar is a commitment to for an education system to emancipate the potentials of unleash the potential of every student, emancipating all the stakeholders to innovate and to create what is best in terms of growing the children to be the best version of they can be. So it's not like this is like the opposite of the philosophy to standardize everything, because we believe that each child is unique and each field is also important for the developing human civilization. In other words, that there's no like favorite areas, favorite subjects, but all subjects are equally important. and all fields are equally important. So, and the other part of emancipated learning is to ensure that students have, and also the teachers and educators, including in the university, have the opportunity to use the real experience in the real world. So it's not just about in the classroom, in the school, or in the university. So, for instance, there's a question about the curriculum, and I'd like to respond to that also within this your question. The emancipated curriculum, or curriculum Merdeka, has like three main features that I want to highlight. The first one, it's much more simple than the previous curriculum. So it's about 30 to 40% reduction of the previous curriculum. And this is not easy to do. It was a lot of debate. But then it allows for deep learning for our students, and also give the license for our teachers to do deeper learning, not to race for more content, and more content, because when everything is important, so there is there's nothing that's important, right? Then it also, the second part is to give teachers the flexibility to teach at the right level. So if the students are still behind, the teachers can, it's okay for the teachers to adjust their teaching to reach where the students are, instead of keep teaching according to that level and blame the students and their parents for not making sure the child is at the right level. So again, it seems very simple, but in the implementation, especially in the past, it was counterintuitive to do this. And now suddenly we give the license for teachers to be flexible. By flexible, we mean for your students, teach at the right level. And the third part, component that I'd like to highlight is it is more relevant in terms that now that we have reduction in terms of the content, 30 to 40%, flexibility for the teachers to teach at the right level and also look at their students more closely. And the third part is how to make the lessons more relevant. And here we have project-based learning. The project-based learning is about 20 to 25% of the curriculum component. What happens in the project-based learning and the K-12 level is teachers from all subjects, not only within their subject or in the field, all subjects decide to come together, collaborate, create like a lesson or a unit of project together, and engage all the students for something that is relevant within their community. So let's say in terms of educational sustainability, there's a topic about tolerance. There's a topic about sustainable living. I was in Papua a few months ago, and this is you look at the school, this is one of maybe the poorest schools in that community. Papua is already it's the least developed area in Indonesia. But then for that kind of community, this school that I visited was already one of the poorest ones. A private school. The parents wouldn't want to send their children here to this school. But if they're rejected from to be accepted in other schools, they have no choice. So this is the school where they put their children, right? And then they decided to use Curriculum Merdeka, the emancipated curriculum. And what happened was the students that are before labeled maybe as maybe naughty or troublemakers and etc. suddenly got engaged because they felt that their learning becomes more interesting because it was something connected with their community. So what happened was, when they did the project, then again, like project-based learning for us is like working wonderfully. Of course, a lot of challenges, but it's a lot of these kind of stories. They look at their community, and the problem was the community couldn't get clean water. That's simple. They couldn't get clean water in their community. So then these students, by the way, this is junior high school students. They try to think about how can we help their community to problem solve in terms of clean water. So they created a lot of prototype of water filter, and in the end, they created this product of water filter that was good enough for the community, and the community decided to use the product of these junior high school students and these students suddenly got engaged into like the science, and then again they wanted to learn more about science, and the community also wanted to wait for the next project that these students want to create. So there was this kind of like learning becomes meaningful, and this is what we want to see more in this new curriculum. And in terms of university students, maybe you had heard of this, that our emancipated learning policy allows students to study, and this sounds maybe very revolutionary for even for us, 3 semesters to study outside their major. 3 semesters and be counted as part of their program. So it's not like they're taking time away, but they are given credits, automatic credits. If they, let's say they study, they're in economics, they want to study design. They study, architecture, and they want to work in a village for 1 semester or 2 semesters to help maybe NGO in terms of solving the problems in this village of, I don't know, maybe water or energy, and etc. And that experience, because we believe that the human capital for the future needs to be given the situation when they need to problem solve. Collaborate is just like simple word, and everyone is like very catchy phrase. It's so difficult to do, as we know. And they learn about how to negotiate. What happens when there is a conflict? What happens when I need to talk to this kind of person? What happens when I need to set up a meeting? What happens when I need to, it's all of these little things that we think that students should know when they graduate, but they do not learn that actually from being just in the classroom in campus. And then automatically these are given credits. So it's not like they're taking time, like a leave from campus for 1 or 2 semesters. That happened in the past, but making this part of their program. And of course, there is a lot of resistance at the beginning, but now it's become a norm. We have more than 1 million students that participated in this, university students participated in this program. 100,000 students of this group chose to become teacher assistants in the lowest performing schools, meaning the schools that have problems with literacy below the minimum competency, numeracy. And then we give them training to help them to help the teachers and then to teach the students there. And we already show the impact of this university students become the tutors in the lowest performing schools. So they also help problem solve the problem of learning crisis in Indonesia. And again, we don't create this as like an additional program, but this is included part of the program. So how we define learning, I think in emancipated learning is also transformed. And as you know, transformation is not easy because it disrupts the status quo. The journey of change in Indonesia, I think, me personally, I think it maybe validates what I learned in the university. Change is emotional. Change is never something that is cognitive. Change is emotional. There is a cognitive dissonance and also a feeling of unease when we want to change. And for us now trying to transform this, having, of course, with the clear purpose for the future, and engaging in the implementing at this scale, it's not easy at all. But I think with the spirit of that partnership that you mentioned earlier, Karen, we have our local wisdom called Gotong Royong, which is basically a sense of solidarity and social empathy that even though that's not a problem directly to me, but I feel that this is our collective problem. So let's do a collective action towards that. This Gotong Royong spirit, especially during COVID, I have to say, was really helping us a lot. And I think it's getting more and more, it's getting stronger going forward now. So I think the emancipated learning or Merdeka Belajar, for really, again, in a summary, based on like how we see the students, and try to redefine what learning is, both in K-12 and also university. allowing to have new ideas, disrupting the the previous ecosystem structure, but then with a clear mind. We're not just disrupting this for being disruptive, but we are disrupting this with the purpose of we need to move forward. What had been working in the past was not good enough. We need to try and brave, to be risk tolerant, to try new ideas. And we're moving this understanding that, the normal curve. So we've got the early adopters, the 20% at the beginning. And that's the story of change. And when 20% has already changed, this is the tipping point. The 80% is still not there yet. It's okay. So we understand this is a journey. And then we hope that more and more late adopters and, according to the theory, the diffusion of innovation, it's like a snowball effect. So when we got a tipping point, it will be easier for us going forward. So that's how we think that we can accelerate towards achieving SDG by investing in our human capital, and also when they're learning in the school. School is not preparing them for what happened in the future, but the school itself is already engaging them with what is going to be. So it's not education is not a preparation of life, but education is a life in itself, says John Dewey. So we are actually trying to do that. We have a lot of homework to make this better, but we know we are on the right track. Hopefully, also we learn from all the ecosystem around the world. And thank you so much for Dr. Subarna, Dr. Domidor, Dr. Fang Arun, for this opportunity. Karen, thank you so much for inviting us. I'm very honored to be here today, and hopefully together we can reach the SDG, because SDG is actually a framework for us for a collective action for global citizens. This is not just about for each country, and we share this planet, we share this global village. What is happening in our ecosystem is impacting the rest, and also we can help each other too. So hopefully we can, move that with a spirit of partnership and solidarity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely inspirational. So much for other countries to learn from. I have no doubt that in the near future, we'll be reading books about Indonesia's story in transforming its education. One powerful thing that I just want to recap as a takeaway from what you said is how when students are engaged, when the learning is related to their lived realities, it makes a huge difference. It engages them, they perform so much better, and they are really, like you say, education is what you're living through right now. It's not in preparation for something to come. And it's giving them that practice to be change makers and problem solvers starting from now. So imagine how much practice they would have had when they finish school and they're building their careers. So thank you for inspiring us. We'll be following Indonesia's story closely and hope to have the opportunity to meet you again, sir.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm very sorry that I have to leave because of there's another urgent agenda, but good luck to us all, and hope we can stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, I'd like to now go back to Dr. Dom. Back to the question about challenges. Yeah, so in the Philippines, what do you think are the biggest challenges when it comes to transforming education? Earlier, you had mentioned the many, many beautiful policies and acts and documents that have been prepared to enable this. But what do you see are as the biggest challenges, and what is the role of partnerships in overcoming these?
Thank you very much. I don't know where to start because when we talk about problems and challenges, we have a long list. Of course, geographically speaking, we share same challenge. Though we have just a smaller island, 7,000, and that would already pose some challenges, especially in monitoring quality of education. But more so, of course, as a teacher or whatever position you are, we are always faced with perennial problems, na lack of shortage in the classroom, lack of textbook, teacher quality, lack of student interest, and of course, lack of budget, and and the interference of politics. No? Forgive me, but no, K to 12. I think we were the last country in SIMIO to have the K to 12 curriculum, no, and that only implemented in 2012. And now there's a clamor that we have to revert back to what is it back K to 10. So there are moves from the politics side, from other stakeholders. So and other big issue now, of course, is the clamor, no, because of the heat wave and the extreme temperatures, to move back the school calendar to from June to March classes. So that's a big headache now of the education officers, how to abruptly move the school calendar. That's the call of all the politicians. Revert abruptly or else. Oh my God. So, but anyhow, poor quality somehow, no, based on international assessment, we could deny it. Teams and PISA would show Philippine students does not perform poorly, does not perform well, no, bleak, dismal. But it's ironic at times when there are individual competitions, Filipino students excel. No? But anyhow, okay, we have the former secretary, Dr. Leonor Brayones, who is now the director of SIMU Inotech. And we have our very own vice president of the Philippines, now Secretary Sara Duterte, no, who is maneuvering the Department of Education. And no, he is really responding immediately. No, so okay, since there's a clamor of the K to 12, let's revisit. So that's why we are now revising. We have published the K to 12 curriculum. So then the junior and the senior high school will follow. But now, what we have the Matatag curriculum, no, by the famous project started in just last year of Vice President Sara. When we say Matatag, actually, that is making the curriculum relevant to produce job-ready, active, and responsible citizens. Ta means to take steps to accelerate delivery of basic education facilities and services. Another ta is take good care of learners by promoting learner well-being, inclusive education, and a positive learning environment. And G in the Matatag means giving support to teachers, for them to teach better. So there are a lot of changes happening going on. We are developing learning packages to go with the Matatag curriculum, the K to 12. So we are developing lesson exemplars to be provided to teachers and worksheets for students, grade 4 to grade 10. We are already implementing to 35 schools now, but grade 4 and grade 7 only. And then hopefully next year, we will have finished developing all the modules. So all the faculties, the tertiary education, public and private, were contacted. Those who are good writers, please help DepEd come up with lesson plans and worksheets for the students. Okay, and of course, the one clamor is the mismatch, no, of the senior high school students and the needs of the industry. So of course that is where na partnership would come in between industry and the educational institutions. So the strengthening of job embedded training, especially in courses. So the DepEd now is in high state because of really responding to the call of the stakeholders. Our vice president really is very hands-on because teachers claim more that they do not have time to do quality teaching because of administrative and non-teaching job. So what the president, vice president ordered, relieve teachers with non-teaching and academic. We will hire more administrative staff. So that is welcome developments to all the DepEd teachers. And so we are looking forward that really that could produce good results. So I think our Brigada Eskwela program is a champion when it comes to partnership. So every time school opening starts, there is this volunteerism among parents, private, public, and all those two volunteer to give something, money, resources, time, labor, to help making the school conducive for learning. They donate paint and money. So it makes the school really and the community have a closer relationship because in the first place, the school exists for the community. And also, other than the Brigada Eskwela, we have also the school-based management that is practiced to hone the expertise of our educational leaders. And then because we have different standards now, full implementation. So Philippine professional standards for teachers, Philippine professional standards for school heads, Philippine professional standards for supervisors. So everyone is so on their toes to really demonstrate the indicators reflected in those standards. And so it creates some tension and some stress to teachers because they will be evaluated in those indicators. However, there are surrounding factors that would prevent them to perform optimum in their maximum level. So it's a bottleneck. It's a tug of war between quality performance and accountability. And those different evaluation monitoring tools. The NEAP, our National Educators Academy of the Philippines, is producing what we call this career progression for teachers to help them move, progress from one career stage to another. By the way, this PPST is divided. The teachers in the public school are categorized into 4 levels. The beginning, the proficient, and highly proficient, and distinguished. So some teachers are misplaced. So we will identify their competencies, and then DepEd will develop professional development program for them to really align their competencies based on some assessment following the indicators of so it's very exciting now, the Department of Education, of course, because of trifocal education, the Commission of Higher Education, and TESDA, or the Technical and Skills Development Authority. So these three really sit down together to really thresh up with problems. And our politicians, they commissioned a second Congressional Commission on Education, and they published a book. No, they call it Miseducation, the failed system of Philippine education. So they presented really challenging data, no? And they found out of the fragmented early childhood care and development, disjointed teacher development, lack of monitoring, and then of course inequity, no, in the budget, especially with regard special education fund. Big cities have bigger special education fund, no, which they can use for capacity building and research for their teachers. So at times, no, the interagency partnership collaboration among national government agencies also pose a challenge because of so many programs and projects which they cannot focus. But we are happy that when it comes to ESD, the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Environment, no, and Natural Resources, no, really had close collaboration with DepEd, and they are sponsoring or launching competitions, no, who's the best implementer, no, of ESD programs. And so now, with the extensive institutionalization of the laws there, so it's good that it produced results, internationally. The ESD implementation has been recognized by Simio Jasper, lately. Japan, Simio Japan for their in 2018. So I think there are we are just lucky that different, I think similar to other countries, no, the US aid, the Australia aid, and various national embassies, no, Spain, New Zealand are really helping, no, with DepEd, no, and of course the Asian Development Bank, the Philippine Business for Education, and even private, no, telephone companies and famous what do you call this, restaurants and all those. So I guess, no, somehow when the new secretary sits in and gaining popular with since vice president herself, so we are just glad that somehow with her position as secretary of education somehow produces good results, and we are just glad that it will really manifest in pupil performance, no, and of course teacher quality. Okay, so I think
Thanks, Dr. Dom. I think that's plenty. I mean, you mentioned like really big challenges that exist, and it's really inspiring to see that despite all of that, there was the realization that something needed to be done, and the interventions that are being done in the Philippines are pretty revolutionary, and that then justifies why, you know, international supporters and the private sector would come in to provide funding resources and other resources that are needed. Thank you for that sharing. I'd like to turn the question to Thailand. Same question, Dr. Fuang Arun. What are the biggest challenges in transforming education in Thailand, and what role do you see partnerships playing?
Okay, thank you. I try to present within 5 minutes at Dr. Karen aside. Okay, I think for the biggest challenge in Thailand, in my view, is the teacher competency. In this picture, you will see that in Thailand, we have more than 700,000 teachers and 11 million students all the country. Is a huge number. So for the student, I think like other country that student have a heavy load, have to follow the policy multi-level, from the national level, for the ministry level, for the school level. It is a really they work really hard. So I think it's the competency of teacher is will deliver the ESD competency to the student. If you see key competency for sustainability is from UNESCO, there are 8 key competency of learning outcome of the student. And on the right is the ESD teacher competency. In Thailand, but we have, I will give an example of two projects that is give a knowledge about ESD to the student and to teacher and to the director. In Thailand, we call the principal director. Not call the principal, we call director. The program for the teacher and student called OBEC Young Leaders for SDGs is organized by the Bureau of Educational Innovation Development, Ministry of Education. It's launched, I think it's around 3 or 4 years ago. There are 500 teachers have joined this project, and around only 1,000 students that have joined this project. For another project is called Innovative Leaders for SDG, just launched last year, organized by the Bureau of Educational Innovation Development too. From last year to now, not many director that join this program because it just start, and we hope that the project will go on, and not only from the Ministry of Education, that from my faculty that I work for, Faculty of Education, Chulalongkorn University, we taught ESD subject more than 10 years, and our undergraduate and graduate students have to register in the ESD course. From that time to this time, I think more than 15,000 graduate have studied in ESD course, and most of them now are the teacher all over the country, and also not only the teacher, now there are some of them are director of the school, and some own the private school, and some of our students is the neighbor countries such as Cambodia, and even from China, they learn ESD in our faculty. And I think it's teacher competency is very important, but because of, if we would like our students have see the importance of the ESD, we can say that the student should have a student engagement. They love to study ESD. Teacher cannot give a lecture to the student only. They give only some knowledge, but they have to learn how to design lesson, like funny teaching, not boring. So students love to learn and open mind to learn a new knowledge, especially about the ESD or SDG. And for the training course, and for my course, the student or the teacher will know how to use active learning to teach in the school, how to do a project with the community. And now I think everyone talk about the partnership. The partnership is very important. In the for the Ministry of Education project and even ESD course in the Faculty of Education, we have a partnership. We have like a knowledge sharing with the community, knowledge sharing with the foreign university. Now we have a project with the Tohoku University from Japan, and we have the knowledge sharing with the Tsinghua University in China. Okay, that's my answer for this question. Okay.
Dr. Fuangarun, the programs that you're running for teacher capacity building, are they mainly for pre-service teachers or are they also for in-service teachers?
Both for pre-service and in-service teacher.
Okay.
Because in the faculty, we have undergraduate student and graduate student. So graduate student, most of them are a teacher in the school and or director.
Thank you so much for that. I think what Dr. Fuangarun just said links very nicely to my next question to Dr. Subarna, actually. And Dr. Subarna, my next question to you is, you are not part of this National ESD Coalition to ensure educational transformation through ESD in Malaysia. And you are also working on a pilot intervention to bring ESD into schools through teacher training. How do you see this intervention making an impact? And also, how will this impact be measured?
Thanks, Karen. So yes, we are working with SDSN Malaysia. In fact, yeah, we are running a pilot program called the UN SDSN Asia ESD Teacher Professional Development Program, and I understand that this is going to be the first of its kind in the country. The aim of the program is actually to capacity build teachers and school leaders to advocate for greater integration of sustainability, education for sustainability, climate change education within the existing education ecosystem. So the idea basically is simple. We want to give teachers an opportunity to undergo training that Ministry of Education may not necessarily be able to conduct at large scale. So we are running this pilot, and we are experimenting to see if this would work and if this could be scaled, beyond the pilot school programs that we have currently in. I think we have it in several states. Yeah, Karen, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's in Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Kelantan, Putrajaya, some of the locations of these schools. So what do we want to get out of this training program? Basically is to get our teachers to be more accustomed about what sustainability is, what sustainability education is, and gain greater understanding about this. Because if you remember, I mentioned earlier, 2027, the curriculum review is happening now, and if we are going to see greater integration of SDGs and sustainability within the new curriculum that's coming up, we need to capacity build our teachers. Yeah. So hoping, fingers crossed, that this program will enable us to do this. But my ultimate dream would be for us to see this scaled at nationally. All right, I want to see this being implemented more systemically within the curriculum and within the training programs that the ministry has for teachers. So this is a good first step, and hopefully with proper funding, with proper planning, with proper monitoring of the pilot program, we can see some positive results coming out, and that would give us a good case to scale this program across the whole country. So kudos to SDSN Malaysia for doing this. Kudos to Ministry of Education for looking at this as something very, very important for teachers and for school leaders. So you asked about how we're going to monitor this and what are we going to do after that, right, Karen? So in terms of monitoring, so we have 5 modules. I will not go through the module details now, we don't have time. But essentially what we are trying to do is we are trying to get our teachers to become more sustainability literate. We want to give them, knowledge, skills, values that they can embed in their own classrooms with their students. Allocate time for this within their classrooms, and not look at this as something solely for teachers in science or teachers in geography or teachers only teaching biology to do. But we want teachers teaching all subject matters to bring this up in the classroom. And this is what our teachers lack at the moment. They don't have this capacity for interdisciplinary teaching and interdisciplinary learning. So we are beginning to understand this. We've already run, the first module in one of the schools already, and we've been seeing some very interesting, results coming out. Of course, it's just the first module, 4 more to go. But it's really interesting to see how the teachers have been engaging with the content and engaging with the approach that we have taken to this program. So it's very, like I said, it's interdisciplinary. We want teachers teaching all different subjects to come together to discuss sustainability issues. We want them to figure out solutions to how they can make this more interesting in their own classrooms. We are looking also at reflection as a key component of these programs, because as teachers, it's really important for us to be reflective. So we are embedding this into the program structure as well. Reflection is something teachers may not have the time to do. So we want to ensure that we put this into the program and make this something that they embed. And we want them to then infect other teachers in their schools. So with pilot programs like this, you maybe have 30, 40, 50 teachers only available. We want to scale this. We want the teachers who are being trained currently to train other teachers who may not have had the opportunity to also be part of this. So that's what I mean by infecting in a nice positive way. So these programs that we do, I think we have to move out of doing programs like this in silo. So in the example of this SDSN Malaysia program, we are working together with Ministry of Education. SDSN is leading this. We have universities on board. So this is a good example of partnerships to accelerate SDG 4, to accelerate 4.7. Yeah. So that's a little I can talk about the pilot program, Karen.
Thanks, Doctor. A question just came in the chat from Sabrina, which is related, and Sabrina wants to know if you think that pre-service and novice teachers should be exposed to ESD more, and are there any programs that also enforce ESD in Malaysia, to your knowledge?
Sure. So I assume that question is for me, yeah?
It is for you, yes.
Okay, yes, a great question, Sabrina. Do I think pre-service and novice teachers should be exposed to it more? Definitely. So I'm from the School of Education at the University of Nottingham. So I'm going to speak about this from the perspective of from my experiences. So we offer Bachelor of Education programs with an emphasis on TESOL. So when I joined the school in 2022 May, I told everyone in the school, teachers, our colleagues, my colleagues, my students and all, the importance of understanding what being a teacher is and what being a teacher in the future is going to be like. Yeah. The workforce, the teaching workforce of the future is going to be very, very different. It's not like what it's today. Okay. Teachers of the future need to be equipped with knowledge about what's happening to the planet. Teachers need to know how to engage with learners and give them these literacies to understand how the workforce of the future is going to be, how the planet of the future is going to be. Because we know increasingly climate change is causing lots of disaster and education is impacted because of this. So as teachers, we definitely want we definitely need our teachers to be able to understand this and also get their students to understand this. So definitely pre-service, that's what we're doing at University of Nottingham. We are embedding the SDGs, we are embedding sustainability within the curriculum. Novice teachers definitely should be exposed to it, and programs like what SDSN Malaysia is working on is definitely helpful. We definitely want to see more such programs happening in the future.
I think also, just to quickly add, once this pilot is done, we also want to see how it can be extended to the public teacher development institutions. Right now, the urgent need is seen for in-service teachers because they're already, teaching in classrooms. They're already having FaceTime with students. So that was the urgency, but it will definitely be extended also to the pre-service teachers at some point. Thank you for that, Dr. Subarna. Dr. Dom, a question for you. There are many successful ESD projects that have already been tried and tested in the Philippines that I think other countries can learn from and perhaps emulate. Could you tell us about a couple of them? I'm conscious that we only have 6 minutes left in this webinar, so I would have to ask all speakers to keep your comments brief, please. Over to you, Dr. Dom.
Okay, thank you. So I just mentioned 3, which are really have created great impact, not only to the academics, but also health, no? And social consciousness. So the first one here is the school inside the garden. So as far as 1995, no, the launch of this and it being continued until now, no? And so basically students would make their garden as laboratory for learning, no? They learn about science, no? They learn about mathematics, language, no? And of course integration of the different concepts. They from here, once they produce a product, okay, they can sell it. So entrepreneurial and financial skills, no, will be developed apart from learning the basic content in the discipline. Okay, and of course consciousness really between the parents, na, when they come to the school, they see clean and green, no? Wow, they'll be amazed, no, with the the flowers and the blossoming green leaves and the trees. The school in a garden, and it's really sustainable. Then another one is Gulayan sa Paaralan. So this is close with the school in a garden, but this is more of really for producing vegetables intended for a school feeding program. No? We have malnourished children, those who have experiencing health problems, so they don't need to buy, but they can just harvest, no, from their school gardens. And of course, a laboratory for children as well. And then the third one is the mainstreaming, no, of disaster risk reduction management, and of course climate change. You know, so as I mentioned a while ago, development, no, of modules, no, integrating these concepts. Of course, Philippines, no, we are visited by typhoons, no, more than 20 a year, and then earthquakes and all those, all the natural calamities are with us. So in order to survive, no, and equip our young learners, so we have developed a manual, no, for them on what to do before, during, and after such disasters, no? And our partners like the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources, no? So they conduct sustainable and eco-friendly initiatives, no, and competitions, and they give handsome amount, no, as prize to really recognize and motivate other institutions, no, to really implement this gardening, gulayan and the siga, and so capacity building of teachers as well. So the OST, and of course collaboration with universities. So I think that's all about our
you.
three notable
Thank you.
projects.
Thanks. Those are great
Mhm.
projects that you shared.
Mhm.
I'd like to ask the next question to Dr. Fuang Arun. You have been working on ESD in Thailand for a substantial amount of time, and you have seen its evolution. What would you say are the key success factors of driving ESD in Thailand?
Okay, thank you. But I cannot say that it's success or it's the best. But in my opinion, is for the factor that for driving ESD in Thailand toward network and partnership. And for the network that, such as I work with the Ministry of Education, one who launched the ESD teacher training is my former student. When she graduates master degree in the Faculty of Education and go back to work at the Ministry of Education, so she realized that SDG or ESD very important. So she launched this project, and we work together. Sometime I deliver a lecture for her project, and for the partnership. Because I work in the higher education level, so most of my higher education project with other university in Thailand and in the foreign country. So I think even the further network or the partnership is really very important to drive ESD in the school level, university level, in country level, nation level, or in national level. Okay, that's my question.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the end of this webinar. I'd just like to draw your attention to the chat box where there is a link for you to fill out an evaluation form. And if any of you requires a certificate of participation, fill out that form, and there is also a link there to request for a certificate. Before we close, I would just like to turn back to my three very esteemed panelists and ask you to leave us with one final key message following this session today. There was so much that was shared, but if there was one final key message you would like to leave, what is that message? Dr. Subarna, can we start with you?
Okay, sure. I was hoping, I could talk about the national study findings, but it's okay. I think the one key message that I want to leave everyone with today is ESD is something, it's not a one size fits all concept here. The realities on the ground are very different. We often tend to bring a very Western lens to running ESD at the local level. And when that happens, it becomes very confusing. Students, teachers are all unable to relate because what's happening in our country may be very different from what's happening in the UK, Australia, US, etc., etc. So I think it's important for us as educators and as stakeholders within this system to be able to localize ESD so that it becomes relevant and relatable to our learners and also to our teachers. And I think we also shouldn't just be focusing on curriculum aspects, but we should also be looking at co-curricular aspects so that it's looked at in a very, very comprehensive manner. And last but not least, I think education must empower teachers and learners. If there's one thing that I have observed, I have friends who are teachers in public school systems. If there's one thing that they often struggle with is that they feel that they are not empowered enough. So I think empowerment is really important if we want to move the ESD agenda forward. And one final thought is that we have to move towards becoming more interdisciplinary in our approach to teaching. And I think ESD is a right approach to introduce in schools, given the directions that we are seeing within Malaysia and also at a global level. So I think that is all I want to say. Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
opportunity, and I hope we can actually come together, at another time to see how we can actually drive our SDSN pilot program, scale it across, Philippines, Indonesia, and also Thailand with the help of all our speakers today.
Thank you, Dr. Subarna. I'd like to turn to the other lady, Dr. Dam, if you don't mind. Dr. Fuang Arun, you go first with your final thoughts.
Okay, thank you. I think it's as I mentioned before, the partnership and network drives sustainability forward. And how? I think it's by uniting the diverse stakeholders such as government, NGO, academia, business, community. Everyone can drive the ESD because it's our benefit, our world benefits, and we can cultivate the knowledge, skill, and value needed to create more resilient and equitable future for our world. So I think I see my former student that I mentioned before, Ms. Napason. Maybe the next event, maybe you can invite her to talk about her project in the Ministry of Education. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We certainly will do. Dr. Dong, over to you for your final thoughts.
Yes, transforming education or learning or including ESD, of course, is a shared responsibility. So there is no specific sector that would just address that. Okay, so we need to pull our hands, our heads, our pockets together for the love of Mother Nature. No, we only have one Earth. And so in all things we do, integration, contextualization of our curriculum. So as teachers, that is our weapon, curriculum. And of course, we should not be drowned by technology. We should still go back to environment, our ecosystem. Let our students feel the problems, the real, authentic problems, not just sitting pretty and Google in the fingertips what the problems are, but bring them to real, authentic problems. So, and that they have to inculcate ecological, environmental, and sustainability literacy. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a productive, very fruitful, full of content discussion indeed this morning. We've learned so much about the unique situations in Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Thailand, but also the commonalities that we have. I think there's a lot of material that would help us prepare for the next webinar in this series. So please stay tuned to this space and join us again as we explore transformative education through ESD further in subsequent webinars. Thank you all so much for joining us. The link is in the chat box for those of you who have not filled out the evaluation. And I've also just put in a link to mission4.7.org, where you can find out more about the work that we're doing to advance SDG 4, target number 7 particularly, which is education for sustainable development and global citizenship. Thank you, everyone. Join us again next time.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Hope to see you.
Thank you.
Should we take a
Yep. Wait. Can I have everyone's camera open? Would like to capture this moment. All right. I think, yeah, some of you hasn't opened the camera. All right. Are we ready? Please, yeah, give your best smile in 3, 2, 1. All right. Next slide. 3, 2, 1. We still have few more, Karen. 3, 2, 1. Right, last page. 3, 2, 1. All right, Karen, it's all good. I give it back to you, Karen.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good Friday and a good weekend.